Okay, time for a new video. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. This is yet another Eurovision 2025 related video here on my channel, and another installment in this series I'm doing where I focus on the Saturday showdowns or Super Saturdays of the Eurovision 2025 season. This is where I go through all of the shows taking place over the course of a weekend of the Eurovision 2025 season, going through the lineups in a little bit of detail, telling you who I think might come out on top or indeed progress to the next stage of a national selection, and also telling you my personal favourites of each lineup. As always, you are welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment down below, and as always there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. As I've said a few times in previous videos now, my enjoyment of this Eurovision season has been fairly low, and my motivation to film videos has not been terribly high. This is because I don't want to sit here and just be too negative, talking about songs that I'm not really loving that much. Alas, if I am to continue making videos throughout this Eurovision season, then it is inevitable that I will have to discuss songs that I'm not really enjoying a great deal at all. I've been very underwhelmed with the quality that a lot of countries are delivering so far this Eurovision season. I am sure things will change. I am sure the internally selected songs that we'll be getting a lot of very soon are going to be of a generally strong quality. But right now I am just feeling a little bit underwhelmed with everything that's happening. A lot of my favourites aren't really faring terribly well. I'm not really that motivated to talk about certain shows. I think some national finals are looking pretty one-sided as well, which should never be the case. It is what it is. Anyway, I don't want to ramble too much. Let's get straight into this and focus on what is happening tonight, which is Friday the 14th of February as I talk to you now. There are 3 shows actually taking place. One country is picking its entry for the upcoming ESC in Basel, Switzerland, and that is Poland. Their national final, Polskie Kwalifikacje, gets going at 20:45. I am assuming that is CET time. I have some information in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything too important. The lineup we've known for a while. All of these acts came through a submission period. In the first stage, people applied. In the second stage, a 15-member selection committee with members appointed by the broadcaster among music industry professionals, journalists and Eurovision fans reviewed the received submissions and selected a shortlist of 25 based on the 10 favourites of each member. The third stage consisted of all but 5 of the shortlisted entries being additionally performed at an audition round held just before Christmas last year in Warsaw, after which 10 finalists plus 2 backups were unanimously selected from these by the committee and announced on January the 14th, exactly a month ago at the time of this recording. The broadcaster reserved the option to select up to 3 wildcards among artists who did not pass the previous phase, which was later invoked to include an 11th finalist who was announced a short time ago on February the 3rd. The winner tonight will be determined solely by the public via SMS messages. So if Poland do not like who comes out on top, they only have themselves to blame. The lineup is as follows. I have heard these songs, and we do of course have the running order now. Tempo by Krust, which is a very unique and different sounding song. I'm not sure it's terribly competitive, but I do admire what this is bringing to the table. Let It Burn by Daria Marks, a little bit underwhelming. Hold the Light by Dominic Dudek is my favourite, but I couldn't really tell you the melody of it. It's been a while since I checked these songs out. Should he win, which I would be very surprised by, great. But I'm sure even at Eurovision this is not a song that I'm going to be loving a great deal. I think he will finish in the top 5 at least tonight. Teodora Spiric, who of course we are all familiar with because she was part of that double act in Liverpool for Austria a few years ago. She's co-written that track. We have In Cosmic Mist by Janusz Radek. Gaia by Justyna Stechkowska. She is absolutely the one to beat. She could win this national selection if you ask me, with her eyes closed. The song's pretty good, it's quite powerful, there's a lot of potential. I should say that some footage of the rehearsals has been released within the past 24 hours. I have not seen that, so I can't comment on it. However, I am fully expecting, with a sole public vote as the means of determining the representative for Poland this year, I am fully expecting Justyna to come out on top, and if it happens, so be it. She's very popular, very well liked, the song is getting a reasonable amount of buzz. It could do quite all right for itself in Basel this May, if indeed it is Poland's choice. And of course, she has represented Poland before she opened the 1995 final 30 years ago with a song that I've never really loved that much. Then we have Pray by Kuba Szmajkowski, Can't Hide by Marien, Rumours by Sonia Masalik, Lusterka by Svada and Nikshos. This is Justina's toughest opposition, I would say, this evening. It's not really my cup of tea, but I really wouldn't mind if this was the one that came out on top. And to be honest, I'm hoping this one wins over Justina, ever so slightly. I'm not fussed what happens. I'm really not fussed with many national finals because half of the time my favourites are nowhere to be found. But this song, Lusterka, I think it's a little bit repetitive, and I do wonder how it's going to come across live and whether people will really vibe with it enough. But it's not bad. It's doing something a little bit different, and it has had a lot of warm comments, I would say, going its way, so it's definitely in with a shot. We also have Immortal by Teo, or Teo, not entirely sure how you pronounce it. That was the last minute wildcard entry thrown into the mix. It is not a bad song. I think it's actually my second favourite of this batch, and if I remember correctly, it reminded me a little bit of Duncan Lawrence. And then we have Miracle by Tinsky, and I don't think that stands much of a chance. The running order sees Krust get things going, and Dominic Dudek will close proceedings. But as I said a moment ago, I am fully expecting Justina to win. We also have two other shows taking place tonight. We have Heat 1 of Germany's selection, Chef Sacre ESC, which gets going at 15 minutes past 8, and again I assume that is CET time. Nobody is really talking about Germany at all, but I would not be surprised if they have something very special lined up this year. Heat 2, which I may as well talk about as well, is on February the 15th. The semi-final is on the 22nd of this month, so that is in 8 days' time, and then the final is on March the 1st. Now, we don't have the song titles. That is probably because, as it says here, in each heat, each of the 12 participating artists will perform a cover song or one of their older songs. Not a great deal of consistency already then. And an expert jury will select the top acts, I'm not sure how many, it doesn't say, to proceed to the semi-final. The jury panel will consist in both shows of Stefan Raab, former Eurovision presenter, former Eurovision artist, former Eurovision songwriter. He was there when Lena made it big back in 2010. So having him back involved, I've said this previously, it's really good because I think he knows what he's doing. Singer and actress Yvonne Katterfeld, and presenter Elton, while Germany's 2004 entrant Mats Mutzke and singer-songwriter Johannes Ureding, who I think has been on the wish list post for Germany at some point in the past, on the joint Instagram page, link in the description as always to that, will be featured as a guest juror in the first and second heat respectively. So tonight we have Abor and Tina, Benjamin Braatz, Cage, Chase, Cosby, Annie May and Paradigm, Equatu, Fanny, Feuerschwanz, definitely keep an eye on them, Janine, Jonathan, Henrik and Julika. And when I was doing my research off camera fairly recently, I would say that on paper this is actually not too bad a lineup. I would definitely keep an eye on Feuerschwanz, who are a medieval metal group. I would also keep an eye tonight on Abor and Tina, possibly Annie May and Paradigm, and also perhaps Julika. And then in Heat 2, which is tomorrow, from fall to spring, they've tried before, they're back, I'd keep an eye on them, as well as Noah Levi and definitely Cloudy June. 1,000, no, that's absolutely wrong. By the end of the submission process, 3,281 applications were received, of which 1,198 included an own song. The 24 competing acts were selected by a panel of representatives from Raab Entertainment, ARD and RTL, and announced on February the 4th. Yes, I don't think anybody should really be ignoring Germany's selection, because there could be some real gems in that selection, so it's worth keeping an eye open. Anyway, We also have the fourth night of Remo, but I may as well move on to Saturday the 15th of February and talk about the fact that the Remo final is that evening, although it will finish in the early hours of Sunday morning. Remo 2025, I've spoken about this on my channel previously. It's the 75th edition of it, older than Eurovision, massive deal. Somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 million Italians tune in every night of this festival every year. It has taken place at the Teatro Aristone in Sanremo for many, many, many years. On night one, everybody performed, and the press, TV and web jury cast their votes. We don't know the specifics of the results, but we know that Simone Cristici, Achille Lauro, Giorgia, Bruno Risas and Lucio Corsi made the top 5. Quite bizarre if you ask me. On the second night, half of the participants performed, and the voting was by the public and the jury of the radio, added to the votes from the press room, TV and web juries on the first night. So it's a little bit convoluted, but nevertheless, the top 5 were Lucio Corsi, Fedez, who's definitely very likely to challenge for victory in the public half of the results, although his song does nothing for me, Simone Cristici, Achille Lauro and Giorgia. And then on the third night, February the 13th, it was the other half, and again the voting was the same, and we had Bruno Risas, again, Oli Komokos or Komokose, Irama and Francesco Gabbani, and I have to say I'm not terribly surprised by that outcome. Tonight it is covers night, so all of the artists will be performing with somebody else. I suppose you could say this doesn't really matter too much, but it's nice nevertheless. I'm just taking a look here. The voting tonight will be through the public and the 2 juries determining the winner of the night. However, the results of this covers evening do not count towards the overall outcome in the final tomorrow. It has in the past, but not this time. Tonight we have the likes of Achille Lauro performing with Elodie, we have Fedez performing with Marco Massini, Giorgia and Annalisa are performing Skyfall, amazing, that might well be the winner tonight, I'm already calling it. Irama and Arisa are performing together, that's quality. We also have Serena Brancale and Alessandra Amoroso performing. Yeah, it's going to be a long, long evening, and I'm sure thoroughly enjoyable as well. But what really matters is tomorrow night, and who do I think is going to win? If the public are really on board with him, I think Simone Cristici might have it in the bag. I think he probably is going to win the jury vote somewhat comfortably. However, I think Giorgia is the one to beat, because I think she will have the public and jury on board in equal measure. And her song is very good. That is my favourite of this year's Sanremo. I would be perfectly happy if she won and indeed went on to do Eurovision. I'm not sure Simone would, but I suppose we'll wait and see. Oli could do it, Fedez could do it, Achille Lauro could do it, although his song, I sort of went off very quickly. I went through all of these tunes very recently, and obviously I was flitting backwards and forwards determining my personal top 10. And Achille was up there, and then he just kept moving down and down and down. And so I'm not sure he's going to win. His song is fine, though. A bit more serious than I think we were all expecting. Quando Sarai Piccola by Simone is quality. It is a quality piece of music. I've seen people slag him off online, saying his song is dull, this, that and the other. It is quality. It is a quality song, and you're damn right Eurovision needs more of that. But yeah, like I said, I'm not sure he's going to have huge amounts of public support in comparison to the amount of support that he might get in the jury half of the voting. Who else is there that could win? Well, I don't think anybody else can, in all honesty. We are coming up to the end of Sanremo now. It's only been 5 minutes since it started. Could Bruno Risas win it? I'd be very surprised. I'm not sure that's terribly competitive myself. But there we are. Irama always does quite well, and Francesco can't rule out Mr. Charismatic himself. Viva la Vita is in my personal top 3, as is Francesca Michelin with Fango in Paradiso. Lovely track. Can't see that finishing anywhere, though. Cold tea. Lovely. So, that's the situation with Sanremo. It's not the strongest batch. I think last year was more interesting, absolutely. But there are definitely some very fine songs involved. We now move on. My word, there's a lot to talk about. We move on to Estonia's complete waste of time. Eesti Laul takes place tomorrow night at 18:15. So we will be getting a result a little bit earlier than some of the other selections, that's for sure, unless Estonia like to ramble on for the ages as well. Eesti Laul this time around does feel like it's going to be a bit of a waste of time, because most people are expecting it to be a very comfortable victory for Mr. Tommy Cash himself. As soon as his name was announced, people were saying he's got this in the bag. Espresso Macchiato, he's co-written it, he's from Tallinn, he's 33, he's quite a controversial, and if you ask me, quite arrogant figure. Look, I can understand it, I really can, because he's coming into this expecting to win, and he probably will, so having that confidence is not really much of a surprise. His song isn't that amazing. I really don't mind it, but it isn't that amazing. And this is not me bashing Tommy Cash the man. This is me saying it damn well not should be a one-sided affair in Estonia, and if Estonians vote for him purely because of who he is and his name alone, they deserve a right big slap round the face. This should be very competitive indeed. My favourite is Minimal Wind with Armageddon, Christ Alive. That should be absolutely in contention to win. It is a jury and public vote. The top 3 go through to a super final where the Estonian public will have the absolute say on who flies the flag for them in Basel this May. I expect Tommy Cash to win. If it happens, so be it. The staging will be crucial, but honestly, the staging could be dreadful and people might still vote for him in big numbers. Minimal Wind may well win the jury vote, but the public, I don't trust them in any country, so I expect Minimal Wind to be shafted, even though that is absolutely one of the strongest songs from any country this Eurovision season, if you ask me. It would be an absolute breath of fresh air at Eurovision, but it is what it is. I'm not sure who else. Maybe Andrei Zevekin featuring Carita with Maetea Sind. Little bit shouty, if you ask me, but it's not too bad an entry, I suppose. That could make the super final. Anne Marlen with Kulm. A lot of people really loving that. It's doing quite well in some online polls, I believe. That should maybe be in contention for the super final as well. I'm not sure anybody else is really going to do it. Ant, maybe with Tomorrow Never Comes. He's on first. Not that the running order should matter too much. His song is very credible. In another year, he might well be the clear favourite to win something like Eesti Laul. But as I said, it's more than likely going to be Mr. Tommy Cash with Espresso Macchiato. And if that happens, fine. We're all expecting it. I've not seen much hype for that song whatsoever. I think it was released and people were generally disappointed. Now, we know that Tommy can deliver the goods. We know he can. But is it really the best song here? I'm not sure it is. But to Estonians, they might not give a shite. We move on, and I should say my favourite is Minimal Wind, followed by Janek and Elisa, just for the record. But I would say Minimal Wind clearly ahead of the rest, in all honesty. The next show to talk about is going to be the absolute shite fest that is Melodi Grand Prix from Norway. This is a disgraceful batch, quite frankly. Let's not beat around the bush. This is the most underwhelming MGP final I can think of in all the years, 20 years plus, that I've been a Eurovision fan. I do not remember a lineup quite as underwhelming as this one. It says here there was a submission period and definitely one artist was supposed to be involved and then pulled out because of the LA wildfires, which occurred around where they're based. And it does say here somebody else withdrew as well. So we have a lineup of 9 names. We have, in alphabetical order, 1985 winners and the first winners for Norway, Bobby Socks with Joyful. This should not be winning, and to be honest, it shouldn't be coming close to winning. It's fine, it's dated, but we should not just vote for this for nostalgic purposes, quite frankly. We have Kyle Alessandro with Lighter, It's Okay. By God, is it bang average? I am very surprised so many people have this as their number one of MGP, because I don't think it's doing anything truly remarkable. I actually think it's somewhat lackluster. If this was in Melfest, it probably wouldn't even get through a respective heat, which tells you everything about this song's potential chances at Eurovision. Adam Woods has co-written this. He's been involved in Melfest, so it perhaps doesn't really surprise me that this sounds like something that you could have easily in any other Nordic national final, to be honest with you. We have Hot as Hell in Paradise by Ladybug. That's not too bad. Parasite by LLL, co-written by Noora Foss Al-Jabri, who's involved herself as a solo act, and Ben Adams, part of Subwoofer and indeed the lead singer of A1. He's co-written this. That's actually my second favourite. I do wonder about the live vocals, though. The Game by Nataline, that might be the winner. I really don't know, though. This is very much up for grabs. Sulale by Noora Jabri. Like her, she was involved years ago, 2012, had a cracking ballad, Somewhere Beautiful, finished behind 2G. It really should have been her going to Eurovision, if you ask me, that year. This song, a little bit underwhelming. We have Vagabond by Sondre, which, with all due respect, should not be near a national final, because I don't think it's remotely strong enough. Last Song by Tone Damli. She's been involved before. She's also been in Sweden's Melfest in the past with Erik Segerstedt, who's trying for Sweden again this year, of course, and is in the final of Melfest next month. This song, Last Song, it's fine. It's not incredible, but it might win. And then we have Human Fire by Wigwam, who represented Norway 20 years ago in Kyiv. It's not a bad rock song, but it's not really getting out of first gear. And although it's listenable, and although I don't mind it, I'm not sure it should be the song going to Eurovision for Norway this year. And in fact, looking at this lineup, I would not be the slightest bit surprised if Norway really struggled to qualify in Basel, because there's not much here that's really getting people pumped up and excited. Very disappointing. If it's Kyle Alessandro, so be it. It wouldn't surprise me, because it's the story of this Eurovision season where my favourites are generally shafted. Could well be Bobby Socks. We all know why Norway might pick Bobby Socks, because of the nostalgic factor. Is it really the best song here? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's fine, but come on now. Nataline, I'm going out and saying that might be the winner, but we'll wait and see. Who's really paying attention to MGP? Not many people. We then have to talk about Sweden's third heat of Melfest a little bit, although I did discuss this in a video previously, which you may well have seen. Melfest, of course, got underway a few weeks ago. This is Heat 3. There's 3 more shows to go after this. We're in Västerås this weekend. The lineup is Greg Schuler with Believe Me, which is not a bad rock-type entry. Malu Pritz with 24 Karat Gold, still only 21, once again at Melfest. And I think she means business this time around. She should be cruising through to the final. Bjorn Holmgren with Radamai, that's okay. Dolly Style with Yeehaw, which I actually listened to in full a short time ago. And giddy up, get on the horse is all I'm going to say. I'm on board with that, even though it is obviously a little bit on the silly side. Angelino with Teardrops. I don't really remember it. You probably don't really remember it. That tells you everything you need to know about that song's chances. And Annika Vicky Helder is closing the show with Life Again, and listening to the snippet yesterday, it sounded alright. I am expecting Malu and either Annika or Dolly to go directly through to the final, and then into the second chance round thingamajig at the end of Heat 5. It is either going to be Annika, Dolly Style, potentially Greg Schuler. I think Bjorn and Angelino are out. But of course, next week it's all about Måns Zelmerlöw, who might be coming into this thinking he's already got one hand on not just the Melfest trophy, but the Eurovision trophy again. Anyway, moving away from Sweden, we have the second heat of Germany's show. We also have the final in Lithuania. Well, this is another national final that I'm not massively invested in. It should be between 3 or 4 songs. Eurovisia.lt began on January the 11th. We've had 5 shows already. The final is coming up, of course. 2 songs from each heat progressed, but we also have 2 wildcard entries as well, making a grand final lineup of 12. Jury voting and public voting will be used, and then 3 go through to a super final where pure public voting will determine the winner. So again, like with Poland, if Lithuania do not like who's representing them, they only have themselves to blame. The lineup is as follows: Just Take Me On a Date by Norway. Interesting staging, which is arguably more interesting than the song. After Storm by Goya. That's okay, but it's not winning. Armiletum, apologies for my pronunciation here, by Liepa. That's my friend Peter's favourite. It's not too bad. That's actually one of the wildcard efforts. Hole by Gebrasi or Gebrasi. That's okay, but I'm not sure it's winning material. Freedom by Amoralu. Don't see that finishing anywhere. Running Out of Time by Anyanya might make the super final. I want to say that he won Lithuanian Idol or the Lithuanian version of The Voice fairly recently. I think something like that. It's been a while since I did my research off camera. It's an okay song, but I'm not sure it's the best here. Tired by Juste Baradulinaite. That's lovely. Acoustic guitar, not very competitive though. Tavo Akis by Catharsis is the one to beat. That reminds me very much of Southern Lights for Latvia a few years ago. We all know how they did in Liverpool, didn't qualify. But this really isn't too bad at all. It builds, it feels very moody and dark and atmospheric, and a lot of people are really loving it. Really loving it. So if this doesn't win, uproar. We also have Petunia with I Shalduma, which is a song that I actually enjoyed more than I thought I would, in all honesty, so I would not be mad if she made the super final and went on to win, but I don't think she will win. We have Sophie Ali with The Bluest Bell. She's so young. This was released well before many of the other tracks involved in this selection. It's really sweet, but I have to say the second half of the song loses my interest a little bit. We have Lion Seka or Cheka with Drobe, which is a little bit all over the place, but it is coming up on the rails like you would not believe, so the super final beckons, I think. This is Alan Chico, isn't it? I'm sure this is their new stage name. They've been involved before, don't quote me on that. It's very interesting, not sure how to feel about it. And then we have Black Biceps, another wildcard entry. They won the public vote of their heat very convincingly, but did not make the final originally because the juries weren't terribly on board, and jury voting takes precedence because Lithuania are seemingly stuck in the dark ages. Anyway, Visape Man Reik is catchy, it's sort of ska-like in style, it's not bad, it's my third favourite. Their third, Sophie Ali is second, Catharsis first. I would be really surprised if Catharsis don't win, and should they win, I think a lot of people are really going to rank that song quite highly. But I also feel a little bit uncertain about its chances at Eurovision because it's giving me Southern Lights vibes and they didn't qualify. Anyway, that's the situation with Lithuania. Do bear with me as we move on past Italy, because I've already spoken about them, to Iceland. Well, Iceland, I can only assume that they were all smoking something funny last week, because arguably the best song of their selection is out. What the hell are you playing at? Song for Kept in 2025. This is the second semi-final coming up. The finals next week, February the 22nd. We have 10 songs, 5 in each heat. 3 go through from each heat thanks to public voting. And then in the final, there's international jury voting and public voting, and it's the winner takes it all. There is no super final after last year's controversy. Of course, we have, in most cases, the Icelandic version and the English version of the track. 110 entries were received by the broadcaster RUV or RUV. Last week, Stebby Jack, who might win this thing with a somewhat lackluster rock song, August and Vibe, that's the 2 guys, progressed. Birgo is out. What the hell are you playing at? And Bia is also gone. This weekend we have Dagur Sig, Julian Disa, Bara Katrin, Bjarni Arason and Tina. I am fully expecting Bjarni Arason to go through, despite the fact it's the weakest song here. Julian Disa should be cruising through, and Tina with Thrau should be making the final as well. But based on what happened last week, Iceland haven't got much of a clue, And who the hell knows what's going to happen in the final. One thing is for sure, it's a massive uphill battle for this country to make the final once again at Eurovision this year. Then we have to talk about Armenia. Now, I've also realised I've not really been talking about the times that these shows begin. So, MGP for Norway, 1950. Melfest, 8 o'clock. Germany, 8:15. Lithuania, 8:30. Italy, 8:40. Iceland, 8:45. And then on Sunday, Depi Evratesil, hopefully I'm pronouncing that somewhat accurately, Armenia's first national final for years, gets going at 4 p.m. And the lineup is okay. Let me just load this up here. My favourite is the 2020 representative Athena Manoukian. She's back with The Queen Nation, and she's closing this national final, song 12. It's not a bad song. There's a few spoken word type moments. You'll know what I'm on about if you've listened to it. It's quite sassy. There's the potential for quite fierce staging. It actually reminded me in places of Georgia's entry last year, which didn't fare terribly well. Not sure if that's a good thing or not. But this is the one to beat. It's had the most views, and she deserves her chance on the Eurovision stage, quite frankly. Is this better than her entry in 2020? I'm not sure it is, but it's still not bad. And I think a lot of people will be quite enthusiastic about this particular choice. The strongest contenders that she has are the song opening Depi Evratesil on Sunday, Survivor by Parg, which has been written by Thomas Gierson, because the man cannot stay away from any damn national final, along with a whole bunch of other people. It's pretty good. It really packs a punch. It's the sort of song that you'd use to get fired up in the gym, that sort of thing, I guess. I certainly don't mind it. Anahita Damyan, who's been at Junior Eurovision before 9 years ago with Tiny Little Boo, very much in the mould of, I suppose, early Ariana Grande type stuff. I'm not sure I'm really loving the lyrics, but lyrics don't matter a great deal, do they? And this song is fine. Wouldn't be mad if it won. Flora might win. Anahit and Gasoya might win. Arsen featuring drag persona of Arsen, Camille, with Will You Marry Me? That could be very interesting in how that comes across live. That might be in with a shot, because Camille with Puerto Rico did quite well in the national final several years ago. But anyway, it should be The Queen Nation, and if it's not, so be it. We'll find out on Sunday. Anyway, I'm now wrapping this video up. It's been a total mess, and I do apologise for rambling on so much, but I don't think I've missed out anything super crucial there. I'll be back with more Eurovision 2025 related content fairly soon. I am expecting my favourites to finish nowhere, but we'll wait and see. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, let me know what you think about the upcoming events this weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.